Hello and welcome back to the Lorna Whiston Schools podcast, the place where we connect with parents from around the globe to share our experiences on a variety of topics. We are a leading school and have been based in Singapore for over 40 years. We specialize in developing a lifelong love for learning, and our focus is on our working with our parents to develop their children's 21st century skills, transforming them into the talented, critical thinkers of tomorrow. I am your host, Renee Stone, head of Lorna Whiston Schools. And today I'm delighted to have with me Miss Joyce Tan and Miss Karen Askew. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Renee. Lovely to be here.
Hi, nice to be here with you today, Renee.
Thank you. Lovely to have you here. Miss Joyce and Miss Karen are our very passionate enrichment teachers here at Lorna Whiston Schools. And aside from teaching English enrichment and speech and drama classes, they both teach our Little Explorer program, also known as our LEX program. This program is run for young learners from 18 months to 3 years old. Today, we will be looking at the topic of how young is too young to begin enrichment programs for your child. So, ladies, the first question that we have, and we're sure that a lot of viewers are very keen to hear all of these responses from your experience. So, what is the ideal age for parents to start sending their child for additional classes?
I think it is actually whenever the parent thinks it's appropriate or necessary. There are different factors here, but at LEX we begin at 18 months as there's so much going on in toddler development at this stage. New and complex emotions, pretend play, they're moving into independence, working on everyday skills and playing with others helps their development.
That's great. Thank you, Miss Karen. Very good to know that there's so many different factors that one can consider when choosing the ideal time for their child to start classes.
I think, in my opinion, there is no fixed age as to when parents should start sending their children to additional classes. However, sending them to additional classes like our LEX class, as young as 18 months, will help them to establish a form of routine, interact with their peers, learn to be independent, and many more.
Great. Okay, thank you. So 18 months it is.
Yes.
For the LEX program. Wonderful. So why is it important to send children for additional classes before they enter school?
I think one of the problems is that toddlers usually tend to have limited exposure to other children before schooling. So the LEX classes give them the opportunity to mingle, to learn to cooperate with toddlers of the same age. And, it helps develop skills such as self-confidence, public speaking, exploration, a team player. And, these skills can be very hard to develop at home if your toddler is only interacting with a limited number of people each day.
Right. So having that space to interact with so many other different personalities, that's a really great point.
So, as said earlier, forming a routine, getting them used to parents dropping them off is essential prior to them going to 5-day school week.
Right.
And also it will help them to ease into that because 5 days, even if it's half day or full day, getting them at least, because LEX is 2 days a week.
Right.
It will help them to at least form some form of routine and then slowly ease it 2 days into a 5-day school day.
Sure.
Week. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So just getting them accustomed to that routine and getting ready for school. So when they are getting accustomed to the routine, separation anxiety is something that is very real.
Yes.
So the question is, based on your experience, because you've been dealing with a lot of early learners, what advice would you give to parents to deal with separation anxiety?
Well, attend LEX accompanied, of course. Basically, let your child get used to the routines with you there initially as support, someone that they're familiar with, and then they will be ready to take that extra step to unaccompanied. They will already know the setup, the routines will be familiar, and that will help them overcome their fear, this, separation anxiety.
Right. So adaptability, we know that children are so adaptable. So as you say, giving them that time to adapt to the new surroundings, that's really important.
3 words. Trust the process.
Right. Sound advice there.
Yes, things will get easier over time. Your child just needs to understand that the separation is temporary. Mm-hmm. So that is why over at our LEX class, we make it a point to make sure that your child gets to say goodbye to you.
Right.
Vice versa. So parents say goodbye to your child. And then we, in the classroom, we set a routine in the class that ends with a goodbye song, which will allow the children to know that their parents are picking them up after the song. So children thrive on routine, and over the next few weeks, when they settle into class, they will understand that, there is always, we are going to have our hello song, our circle time, story time, and then some small learning center time, and then finally goodbye song. So once they get into the routine, daddy's going to pick me up, mommy's going to pick me up afterwards.
Right.
So they will settle in.
Right. So the routine even before they come to class, is that something that's also very important for the parents to keep at home so that they have that consistency, knowing that this is how their day is starting, and then the separation is a little bit easier to manage as well?
Yes, that is actually a good idea and suggestion, because a lot of times children, if the routine just needs to be there even from, when they are at home.
Right.
So I've heard of some parents or even friends who are parents, they would set a routine,
right,
even when they are at home. So for example, like a child, he will wake up, he'll have, he'll brush his teeth first,
mm-hmm,
and then maybe he knows that he has to play with his, dinosaur toys.
right,
And then he will go for a walk first in the
mm-hmm,
park, and then he knows that after the walk, he will reach his school.
right.
So I think the routine is, yes, like you said earlier on, it's important that it starts from home.
Sure.
Yeah.
So should parents feel bad when they drop and run?
I don't think that they should feel bad, but I think it's something that they should wean off from, because it's very important that they form this trust and bond with their children, mm-hmm, when they drop their child off instead of sneaking off.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of parents, they're afraid that their children will start crying,
right,
when they see their parents leave.
mm-hmm,
But it's just the process. So, even though they're crying, I think it's just, both sides, like the parent and the child, they need to be brave.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think they're both crying sometimes when it comes to leaving
Maybe
their young
the parents
child.
are crying on the inside.
Absolutely. But trust, as you say,
Yes.
trust needs to be there, and doing it openly and transparently that they are
Yes.
leaving, so that they just accept that that is the process,
Yep.
and they can be reunited together happily after
Yes,
class.
you're right.
Fantastic. So 2020, it is known in history as the year of COVID, year of face masks, year of not being able to share with friends. What challenges have you noticed in babies that were in the early years of development in 2020? And what advice would you perhaps give to parents who have children in the early years of their life?
I think it is going to be examined as we move forward. Young children may well be affected by this quarantine situation in ways that are not going to be immediately obvious. They are possibly going to react to the stress of the adults around them, and they can show this in different ways. They may be clinging more to parents, to caregivers, and they may withdraw from unfamiliar contact. Some of them may act like the younger children, and, they can't easily vocalize their fears and distress. And I think another stress point for them at the moment is that parents are physically present at home. You can see them, but the parents are not really available emotionally to you. They do have this work that needs to be done. So separation anxiety, I think, is heightened for these young children.
Right.
And really, that's why we started the LEX Accompanied program. It's a direct result of seeing this issue, and we are responding to it here at Lorna Whiston. LEX Accompanied has really worked for my parents. They tell me so, I can see it. They're totally immersed in the LEX Accompanied experience with their child. It's a marvelous bonding experience. And for parents out there, I know that you're generally tied to office hours, but right now, with this COVID situation, you can change your working hours and you can lessen their separation anxiety by being there with them. Come to LEX Accompanied, let them get familiar with new routines and other people, but you are there as their support system. And for you yourself, it'll be a fantastic experience.
I've actually seen proof of that, and I know how much the parents also look forward to the LEX Accompanied classes as well. So some great advice there.
Because 2020 is a year where there is the lockdown, minimal interaction with their peers. So I think one of the challenges that they face is in the aspect of social emotional development.
Right.
Because even if they are toddlers, they can't go to school for their early years classes. So there is minimal interaction with their peers. They are at that stage where they are learning how to communicate.
Right.
It may not be verbal, but non-verbal communications with their peers. They are also learning how to play alongside with their peers. So that is missing, and it's at the minimal last year.
Right.
So I think for that, parents will need to work more with their children in terms of interactions, more communication with their child in order to develop their speech.
Right.
And also, if their peers are not there to play with them, parents should be there to play with them. So, instead of sharing with their peers, they are learning how to share with their parents.
Right.
Yeah. So, social emotional development, and also because we are not encouraged to leave the house, like we leave the house last year.
Yes.
So there is lesser outdoor play. So children don't get to exercise more. They don't get to work on their gross motor skills more often. So spend more time with their children, or spend more time with your children to work on some indoor exercises or games, just to work on their gross motor skills, get them moving. Because a lot of times, even adults, we are guilty of just sitting down on our chairs and not doing some exercises when we are at home. So it's very easy. Songs such as, head, shoulders, knees and toes.
Nice.
You work your whole gross motor skills with your children. So just go on YouTube. There are a lot of songs that you can engage with your child in order to, get the muscles moving.
Right.
Yes.
I think that's some great points, because as you say, it's the quality time.
Yes.
It's if the children weren't able to share with others because of the circumstances, then modeling that as a parent and having that time to role play with them and to dress up and to take it in turns to do things. And that in turn will help them develop their social emotional skills. And I love the exercise part, being a huge fan of keeping fit. It's so important for the children to be developing those gross motor skills. So thank you for sharing those. So can you please share with us some of your favorite experiences you've had teaching young learners?
That is such a tricky one. How long do we have?
In a few minutes.
Well, I have to be honest, the wonder on their faces at all of the things that we have in the room that they can see, that they can do, they can touch, their smiles, their laughter, their stories. There's a lot to like with younger children. But a recent one in LEX Accompanied was that I was sat with my student and he was busy with a teapot and a tea service. And he was pretending to make drinks. And he'd made one for Mummy, and he was going to make one for me. And he carefully added milk to the cup. And as he handed it to me, I said, "I like tea." And he said, quite seriously, "It's coffee." And his mother laughed, and I realised she must be a coffee drinker. And I also think one of the things that makes me smile at the moment at the art and crafts station is that COVID children are really not used to having their hands dirty.
Right.
So they are fascinated by the tactile feel of that kind of glue, paint, rough, smooth textures, but they're so funny because they will accidentally maybe get paint on their hands before they're going to use a roller, and they'll hold up their finger or their hand and immediately expect it to be wiped clean. It's, wet wipes are essential. Right. And then they want to try again, but they want clean hands constantly. So that's a big difference, I think. But, on the positive side, many parents have dashed down and bought new craft items because they see their child's interest. They're there with them. And so you think they really do like chalk. They are really responding to this art and craft. It's different. And I think that's given them a lot of things to work with their children on at home. Right. Because you're not just getting that artwork at a later stage. It's right now. You're seeing it. You're living that experience with them, their initial delight.
Right. The bonding, that just resonates with what you're saying, is that parental bonding with the child during all of these fun learning experiences. The coffee, that was a great one.
I think one of my favorite experience is when the children start to get used to the routine. So we have the circle time where we sing and dance, and most of the lessons we will have a fixed set of songs first, and then perhaps we will introduce some songs that are related to the theme. Right. So that the children get a routine of, I know what song is coming next. So the first few weeks, they get a bit confused. They're trying to learn the dance movements, and they're also trying to catch up with the songs. So most of the time, they're just staring at you. So they will just stare at the teacher and the assistant, and we're both just there enjoying ourselves, looking at the children. So I think about at week 3 or 4, they start to bob a little.
To join in.
Yes, to join in.
It's processed.
And then week 5, which is now week 5, they start to have a little more expressive movements, and you enjoy seeing them grow together in class, just to get them, seeing them enjoying the routine in the class.
Right. Oh, that's great. It's so much fun for them to be actively engaged as well. And I love walking past the classrooms of the LEX rooms and seeing the children having so much fun learning.
Yes.
And that is a secret, isn't it? Enjoying what they're doing.
And a lot of music.
And a lot of music. Absolutely. We learn through music. So, as a parent yourself, Miss Karen, do you happen to have any final parenting tips for parents of younger children?
I would use mummy knows best, but I think in today's day and age, it's possibly best to say parents know best. My advice to any parent would be, you can listen to all of the advice in the world, but basically go with what you feel. You know best. Nobody knows your child better than you do. If you think there is cause for concern in any way, then reach out. At the worst, if it's confirmed, you'll have some support and early intervention. If, on the other hand, there's nothing wrong, you'll have peace of mind and support. Either way, it's a win-win.
Thank you so much, Miss Karen. So can you walk us through an LEX unaccompanied class, because currently you're teaching the unaccompanied class, Miss Joyce?
Yes.
So could you perhaps walk us through what that means and what a typical lesson could be like?
Yes. So LEX unaccompanied class would just mean that the parents are not in the class together with their children. So first thing first is the drop off, saying goodbye to the parents saying goodbye to their child, and then we go into class, and then we first introduce the theme of the day, of the week. So for example, this week is on farms.
Oh, what a fun thing.
Yes, farm and farm animals. So we'll introduce the children to the toys, to the puzzles that are related or relevant to the theme. And then for maybe about 20 minutes into the lesson, we will then transition into another classroom where we have our circle time.
Nice.
So we have our sing and dance session where we sing our favorite Wheels on the Bus song, our hello song. So after the songs and the dance, we will then go into perhaps the letter of the day.
Right.
So today, like for today, we have the letter G. So we introduce the letter first, and then perhaps with a relevant activity. So today we learned that G is for grapes.
Yum.
Yes. So we brought in some real grapes on the vine and got the children to pluck the grapes out. So it is learning through fun and games.
Right.
Yeah, so they learn the letter G, but at the same time G is for grapes, and then they also work on their fine motor skills to pluck the grapes.
Great.
Yes. So if time persists, if we have enough time, we will work on some other games that, for example, fine motor skills.
Right.
Like today we worked on pasting the dot stickers onto some lines just to work on their hand-eye coordination.
Okay.
And also sometimes because of the theme, like 2 weeks ago we had carnival theme.
Right. Carnivals is a fun theme.
Yes, because we brought in real popcorns.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we brought in real popcorn to get them to scoop, get them to squeeze the popcorn. You know, it's like a sensorial activity for them, which they love.
I'm sure
Yes.
everyone loves popcorn.
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for walking us through what a typical unaccompanied class is like.
Oh, and also, so after that, we had snack. I've forgotten about snacks.
Oh, that's very important.
Yeah, snack time.
Okay.
They have a snack time. They get to sit down. They find their own name card. So we printed out their own name cards and then placed it on their tables.
And they can recognize that.
They can recognize their names, and then they sit down. We sing our snack time song, and then we have snacks. Then we head back to our main classroom, just so that they can, remind them about the theme of the week before we sing our goodbye song. And then their parents will come and pick them up.
I see them leaving with happy faces because they've had so much fun in the class.
Oh yes, and their bye is the loudest.
That's so lovely. So, do you have any final tips that you would like to give to any parents when it comes to enrolling their child for an LEX unaccompanied class?
I would say to always be involved in your child's learning.
Yeah.
So the learning doesn't stop in the classroom, because I will always write in their pink reader book what we did for the day. So let's say if you know that your child learned the letter D that day, perhaps you can visit a pet store and say hi to a dog. D is for dog. Or fill the tub with rubber ducks.
Right.
Or play with some dinosaur toys. So, it's just incorporating and, lengthening the learning experience outside of the classroom. Yes.
Great. So the learning is real to the children.
Yes.
And it's consolidated.
Yeah.
The basic routines, such as circle time, are the same. The major difference, I would say, is that lack of separation anxiety felt by the child. And of course, the immense bonding benefit for the parent of being there. As their child tries new things, you are sharing in their delight and wonder for 2 hours, twice a week. In the room itself, for the setup, we have different learning stations, and they are all related to the overall theme. So we're using many diverse props and resources, and the children are then immersed into new learning experiences every lesson. There are some reasons, for being there as well that I think we haven't gone into. You've got, for example, one mother in our group has a young baby. So the child is just 6 months old. And of course, the older sibling can feel this jealousy, especially if you're breastfeeding, the child is attached to you a lot of the time. And she has come to take this LEX class so that her older child can feel that she is giving her full attention to him. And, I think it's a wonderful idea. It's a marvelous bonding experience. And this is captured, all of these moments are captured in our LEX books. These are beautiful A3 books, and we do take photographs as the parents and child, they're interacting, and the creative artwork that the children do. This is all put together. And we had one amazing family tree, and parents told me the books will be treasured and they're passed on and shared, which is lovely.
That's great. Wow. And portfolios that they can just refer back to at any point of time. Thank you so much for sharing those unique points about our LEX accompanied classes. Thank you so much, ladies, for your advice and your input. It was such an interesting session. And I'm sure that a lot of viewers have loved hearing more about our LEX curriculum for young learners. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you have found this podcast very informative. Do send us any questions you might have or share with us an encouraging story about how your child has benefited from and most importantly enjoyed enrichment classes at a young age.